want to find out from Star Ghana really the rationale behind this exercise, and going into the future, how do they foresee this report helping Ghana's democracy in terms of the parliamentary effort. We've been joined in studio by Ibrahim. Let me just introduce him. Welcome, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, my pleasure.
Ibrahim Tanko Amedu is the programs manager of Star Ghana, and they sponsored that particular report that was undertaken by Odikro. Let's put a few questions to him. Then thereafter, we'll look at that report that has also come in from the Economist Intelligence Unit that is saying that Ghana's democracy is flawed, and they've cited a few reasons why it is so. Ibrahim, good afternoon once again, and thank you for joining us.
Afternoon, my pleasure.
All right, so why would Star Ghana sponsor a report or an investigation into how parliamentarians conduct themselves and how that is influencing our democracy as a country? All
right, thank you very much. Star Ghana, and the acronym STAR actually stands for Strengthening Transparency, Accountability and Responsiveness in Ghana. Okay. So the core mission of STAR is really to provide support to various actors to help increase the transparency and accountability of government to the citizens. Now, you can't talk about accountability in governance. You can't talk about transparency in our governance without reference to Parliament. Parliament is in a very unique situation in the sense that it is the body that brings together the direct representatives of this country. It is the body or institution that is clothed by the Constitution with the mandate to oversight the work of the executive and the other arms of government. So Parliament occupies a very unique, position in our governance architecture. And that's the reason why we have been working directly with Parliament, but also with other organizations to see how we can help to strengthen its capacity.
After the release of the report, how has the response been from parliamentarians, especially those that, according to the report, did not put out enough effort in the year under review?
Okay, we haven't engaged directly on the report because it is Odikro's work. Okay. We provided the funding, as we've provided funding to lots of other organizations, so I would not be able to respond directly to what individual parliamentarians' feedback has been.
All right, so on looking at the mandate of the responsiveness that was expected from parliamentarians, yes, how do you think this is going to jolt them into action, especially those that, according to the report, were quite, relaxed and dormant?
Okay, I think the importance of the reports lies in two main areas, if I would put it that way. One is the composite picture it gives us. Where are the areas that we need to strengthen to make Parliament more effective? And I think the second actually is at the level of the individual MPs. What are our expectations of MPs? What should they be doing, to improve their work as individual parliamentarians? And I think that the report pointed to a number of areas. One, how the work is conducted at the committee level. The report highlighted that perhaps there may be some of the MPs that have been classified as silent, who have been quite vocal, quite effective at the committee level, but those are not captured in the record of proceedings. Okay. So you only have maybe what was discussed and what the conclusions were. So that's an area for Parliament to look at. It also highlights the issue of the access to information. Odikro did not go out to do any field work. They relied on the information Parliament itself has put out. Okay,
purely parliamentary.
Purely Parliament, Hansard, the record of attendance, etc. So if there are any defects, then I think Parliament should then begin to look at how do we strengthen our record keeping and how do we strengthen the ways in which we make this accessible to
it actually came up when we were trying to put this together, this particular story together, so we get you in studio. It came up that there may be some parliamentarians who on the floor may be quiet, or their contribution to parliamentary business on the floor may be very minimal, but at committee level they may be quite vocal, and then outside Parliament at the constituency level they may be very active as well. So going forward, what are the parameters we are setting to ensure that for the next report we factor in some of these other things that the parliamentarians may be involved in?
I think again I like this question because it then pushes us in the direction of how do we arrive at a universally accepted way of assessing the performance of our parliament.
Right.
You recall that in the past we had, I think, the Africa Watch magazine,
yes,
which made some attempts that came under very severe criticism.
Exactly.
Odikro has also gone in another direction. Can we have a conversation nationally, you know, about what are the parameters, what are the criteria, and then we can move ahead, you know, as a country to do those assessments. So when they come out, there aren't all those things that, well, I'm silent in Parliament, but in my constituency, I'm very active.
Okay. All right. So that is for the questions regarding the Odikro report. Late last night, a report was released by the Economist Intelligence Unit. I believe you may have cited or heard about that report. It says that Ghana's democracy is flawed, and the reasons they gave was that although we are making strides in achieving democracy, we are falling short in certain areas. Even the United States also, for instance, the report says that their democracy is also flawed. How do you take this report as an institution that is pushing for entrenched democracy in Ghana?
Exactly. I think that the report comes at the right time for us. We've just gone through another round of elections in 2016. And I think the report provides input into a reflection on what else do we need to do. And I think that those who have followed, you know, the development of our democracy since 1992 and the various assessments that have come out from various bodies will not be very surprised. You know, Transparency International's report has just come out. We are ranked 70th. Yeah. But the score deteriorated, I think, from between 2015 and 2016, I think from 47 to 43, you know. If you look at the Mo Ibrahim, you know, index, you know, again, we are ranked, well, whilst we are still within the top 5, we have had the 8th biggest deterioration in our scores between 2006 and 2016. So with all this consistency, it needs to point to the fact that there's something wrong. I mean, and if you look at the Economics Intelligence Unit's report, they ranked us against 5 criteria: electoral processes, civil liberties, political participation, I think functioning of government, and then political culture. We scored highest on electoral processes. And again, that reflects the work that has been done over the years, from opaque ballot boxes to transparent ballot boxes, from biometric cards, to all those things. So it reflects that in terms of how we cast the ballots,
we have made progress.
But our biggest, or our the area where we scored least was around functioning of government. And again, that is consistent with what we're seeing, that most citizens, for one reason or another, we feel that after we've cast our ballots,
that is it.
That is it. You know, in terms of holding government accountable to the promises that they've made, we don't think it's our business.
But media has been quite active in that regard, where we pose questions and investigate and unravel things regarding the activities of government, where indirectly we are trying to put government on its toes. There is the media pluralism and openness, where people, you know, citizen participation in the democratic process. So how come, although we seem to be doing that, it is not translating into actual figures for us?
But that's, and I think we should congratulate the media, or some sections of the media, for the very important role they've played in the consolidation and deepening of our governance. But media is just one of the actors. Media can highlight the issues, but if our parliament is not able to take it up, you know, as part of their oversight functions to ensure that the right things are done, if citizens move from being spectators, you know, and become active citizens, able to, and with the agency, to hold their representatives and their government accountable, then we would have a governance that is only responsive to us when it comes to casting the ballot. So there's that aspect, the function of government. And, you know, Obama was talking about weak institutions, you know. You also have this whole issue around some sections of the citizenry, for one reason or the other, beginning to ask questions as to whether the democracy really is benefiting them. High youth unemployment, you know, poor outcomes in terms of the delivery of basic services. And so they ask, what is this about? And they think that, in that sense, we are doing the politicians a favor by going to vote for them.
Then they go and enjoy whilst we...
So before I vote for you, give me this, give me that, you know.
Yeah.
So because I'm doing you a favor. So the whole thing about the political participation and culture is also a key element.
So clearly a lot more participation is expected from not only the government people, but then everybody in general. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Tanko Asiedu. He is the programs manager at Star Ghana, and they have been quite instrumental in the push to get Ghana's democracy entrenched. So at least generations to come would say that, yes, men like himself did quite a yeoman's job. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And we would be bringing him a lot more into the studio to pick some thoughts on how we can do some of these things, you know, in the right way. This is still Midday Live on TV3.